Welcome to the stream, Gary.
No. Oh, my camera moved. You framed
It's
me perfectly earlier, and then my camera fell. Hold on.
it's okay. But we got Penny too.
I ruined Erin's perfect work.
It's
She
fi-
already did all the hard work, and then I tried to adjust my light, and my light fell on my laptop.
Oh, I saw it happen and I couldn't help but laugh because I just saw a board it fell on the keyboard or something. I just saw lights and buttons and a face.
Oh, it was so funny because Seashell's always on at me, like, "Where's Penny?" And I had a lesson earlier today, and I had this student come in. He's like a cool, 16-year-old teenager, and like Penny was like on top of the piano, and I quickly just went.
that's that's where Penny was.
Oh, they're
And
all going to be horrified at how terrible a penguin owner I am. Like, I can't have my students see how uncool I am.
No, no, you were not uncool. That's actually on my list of things I want to talk about today. There's so many things I want to get to before the teaching aspect, though. And so, real quick, before we like deep dive into everything, I suppose, for anybody who is here in this chat right meow at this moment who does not know who Gary Lucas Music is, this is Gary. He pops into our stream. We raid him every single time, like we can raid him. There are only like maybe 5 streamers in the Twitch music scene at this moment that I would call like super like our energies are the same, and I regularly say if you like it here you're gonna like it there, vice versa. Gary is
Mhm.
one of those people, and I
Oh,
like you're literally one of maybe 4 or 5 people I can say that about. Yeah, who's this? They're already trolling you, Gary.
they're such trolls. I mean, I think you get them in your stream, right? The loving trolls.
Yes. Yes. They mean all the love in the world. And so quick question before we continue on, because I did notice like Gary B. Lucas is what your music is published as. Gary
Mm.
Lucas music is some of your socials. Do you have like a preference in terms of like what like this
Um,
is? Blah blah blah.
So I'll tell you the story. Ideally, I would want it to just be Gary Lucas, everything. But there's a musician called Gary Lucas who used to play with Jeff Buckley, and he does lots
Oh.
of instrumental guitar albums. And so if you search for Gary Lucas anywhere, he comes up first, rightly, because he's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
And so years ago, like I've always had this problem of like, what do I name myself then? I've had so many great suggestions over the times, but I decided to go with Gary B. Lucas, just because as soon as you put in that B, it wipes out the other Gary Lucas of searches. So that worked really well. But then on Twitch, I went with Gary B. Lucas, but the amount of times I got raided and people were like, "Thank you so much, Gary Lucas. Gary Lucas, amazing." And I was just like, "No, I can't be dealing with this anymore." Just so and
Wait,
also
even
just
with the capital L? Wasn't it capital G, capital B, capital L?
it was capital B, capital L, and I suppose the two next to each other, a quick glance, it just confused people. Um, some
Oh,
people got it right, and I was always very grateful to them. Hey, Flinksy.
oh
Hey,
man.
hey, Daniela. No, so I decided to go get Gary Lucas music. I liked having the word music in the name because it just, I don't know, made it very clear that I do music. I kind of
Yeah.
liked it.
That's really also I love for you when you said Gary Blucas that you did like your best American Valley girl. Gary Blucas, oh my god.
Oh my God, can I have extra film?
Yes, yes. Oh, and I think I didn't I think I always knew it was B Lucas because I think Jen stumbled upon you uh before I ever did, and she was like, "You're really going to like this dude. You need to check him out." And so that was like in the
I love,
early.
I love Jen. I
Yes.
have to just say,
Please.
I such a cool member of your band, and she was the first person. I can't remember how I came across her channel,
Yeah, I don't know.
but like her song list has so much in common with mine. And then I think I got to know the band through that. And it was her that called you over to my channel.
Yeah.
She was like, "This guy's doing mashups. You have to get over here." And then
Yeah.
you appeared in my channel and you threw out a Beyonce song at me, and I was like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
And that I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, the mashup is what really like got me in because I was like my my brain works a little bit like that now. I feel like after challenging myself over the last couple years, but like your brain, and also you seem to just be able to know what the lyrics are, and I'm so envious of that. You just like start singing a song and I'm like, how does he know the words to this? I know the song, but you just magically know the words. I don't know.
Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Right. So Seashell is here. Seashell requests my own songs that I don't know the words to. And Seashell actually typed up one of my whole songs for me because she wanted to request it and I kept saying, I'm going to forget it. So sometimes I don't. But then other times they will just magically be there and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, honestly, my brain kind of works the same way. I don't know most of my own lyrics, and then I'll pull some random, Pink song out of my ass that I know by heart, and reading the lyrics actually fucks me up more.
Right. That makes sense.
Oh, and that's really, I don't know. I wish that I had asked Jen this because I don't know.
Can I please interrupt for 1 second?
Of
I'm so
course.
sorry, but like it's so related because you just mentioned Pink as well. You said you can randomly pull a Pink song out and Wicked Style there. Sometimes Gary has to Google the lyrics. Can I tell you a funny story?
Please. That's what we're here for.
I was streaming a couple of weeks ago, and you know what it's like when you're on stream and you just want to move on to the next song. You want to keep things flowing. You don't want it to get stagnant. So I can't multitask very well, so I'm trying to talk and decide what to do, and I'm typing in the lyrics to the next song. The next song was Effin' Perfect by Pink. Mm-hmm. I normally use the website AZ Lyric, but I decided to not use the AZ, I don't think, or something went wrong. Anyway, I just absentmindedly typed in Effin' Perfect Pink. Mm-hmm. And then I clicked on the top link without even looking to see if it was a lyric website. And I was met with something very graphic.
Oh, no.
And you have this instant thought of like, am I sharing my screen right now? Am I sharing my screen? What did they just see that? And there's this clip of me, and I go to type in the lyrics. I'm like, okay, let's get the next song. And then I go, did anyone just see that? I'm like, and then I had to explain the story. It was so bad.
Did they hear it? Did they hear it?
There was no video, thankfully.
Okay, good.
But the image took up literally the whole screen, and my eyes just went.
Oh my gosh!
And now one of my streaming friends, Sarah Kay, if I go into her stream, she has this audio thing activated. So as soon as I come in her stream, you just hear my voice going, "I am gay." And that is not what I wanted to see.
Oh, while I had it ready to go. Oh no. Yeah, that does deserve applause.
It's just so perfect because you said you could pull a random Pink song out of your head, and I was like, I needed the Pink lyrics.
Yeah. Oh, I just got lightheaded from laughing so hard. Oh, right, Io, that just made my whole day. I need that sound clip. I'm gay, and this is not. What did you say? And this is not what I wanted to see.
That's not what I wanted to see.
Oh.
And then there's another one where I'm just in a really high pitched voice, just going, "Oh, it's so embarrassing."
So I'm not like sick or anything, but my allergies have been terrible. So laughing that hard just made me like all the phlegm, and I'm like, oh God, I can't breathe.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. Oh my goodness. I feel like we've already learned so much about you just in the shit show that all the things that we've talked about in a matter of like 10 minutes. So if you want to know more, stick around. If that wasn't enough for you. So I definitely have a theme. As you know, I have a theme for my chats, and it's sort of revolving around mental health. It's mostly revolving around Twitch, how Twitch has changed our lives for the better, for the worse. But I also have all types of people on here. I have gamers, artists, musicians. So it's not always the same conversation. But with you and I, we are both musicians. We've both been musicians since we were young. And so I really kind of wanted to dig in. I wanted to start there. I noticed on your Twitch profile, it said you've been making music since you were 15, piano and guitar. I kind of would love to know, how did that begin, and like dig into the early years of when you started writing music.
Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for inviting me on. This is really fun.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky in that I've got two older brothers who both played guitar and they both sung. So that was just very lucky. And I'm incredibly shy and introverted typically. And I think it really helped that they normalized singing and playing in the house.
Mm.
Because I'm not sure I would have done it naturally. But like I would just be walking through the house and you'd hear one of them singing Oasis. Typically, it was 90s Britpop. They were a little bit older than me. So they were playing all the Oasis songs and so they normalized it. But I always thought that I was like different to them. I got into music a little bit later than them. I always thought they were going to be like the cool rock stars and I was going to be the nerdy book boy. That's how I always thought it was going to be. And but I was lucky. I've been very lucky where people have pushed me into things. The brother that's closest to me in age, he would sometimes just like shove a guitar into my hands and be like, "Here's the chords to Wonderwall. You will learn them," and like passing down his knowledge. So I learned the chords to Wonderwall. I played them very badly on a guitar, but I wasn't like into it. There wasn't enough like inspiration to follow it through. But then, this was when I was around 13. Then around a year later, 14, I heard Alanis Morissette for the first time.
Okay.
And there's something about her voice, something about her songs, where something just went, this is more than just music. This is something else. Like, I don't know what it is, but I need to know more. And I just like listened to everything about Alanis Morissette that I could. She's still to this day like my number one favorite artist. And I remembered the chords that my brother had shown me for Wonderwall, and I was like, can I make these work to sing Ironic? And I kind of did. I think I got them wrong, but it was enough for me to kind of sing along, and that was how it all started.
I wouldn't have guessed that Alanis Morissette was actually the person who kind of inspired you to keep moving on with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's something to do with her personality type. It's so similar to mine. When I listen to her lyrics, I feel like I'm actually reading my own diary. It's ridiculous.
But I love that though. But here's the interesting thing for those of you who don't know. So in Gary's profiles, I noticed that you're like big into personality types, the different theories and stuff. I'm not particularly into those. I'm more into astrology and tarot and stuff, which does relate to personality theory. There's some, something that connects that. But what connects Gary and I specifically is our birthdays. We have the same birthday, the same exact birthday, but 1 year apart. I'll let y'all guess who's a year older. It's fine. Don't guess. Just let it be. But we have the same birthday. We were both born on January 4th, and I think that that's really interesting. And we didn't discover that until I don't know. I was like already obsessed with your stream and lurking all the time, and then at some point it came up. I was like, how very dare! Like, it all makes so much sense. But speaking of the personality,
sorry to interrupt.
No.
I'm too excited. Literally earlier on today, I was watching another streamer, and I was talking to her about the personality types, and she said, "I don't know loads about them, but I know more about the big three, the astrology thing. This is what I've heard you mention." And again, I just think there's like this synchronicity where like she was telling me to look into that, you've told me to look into that. So I think at some point I am going to have to do the big three thing. I haven't like always been massively into the personality thing. Like I had done my Myers-Briggs, which is the one where I'm an INFP, and I had sort of read into it and watched some of the comedy videos and kind of dug a little bit into it over the years. But that was about as far as it went. And it's only in the last few months, talking to Woo Walt there, who's in the chat. Walt introduced me to the Enneagram one, and so since then, the last few months, I've just been like, read as much as I can and find out more. And I think I'm just open-minded enough now to go more into the astrology stuff as well.
Yeah, and I think that I'll be interested to find out what your big three are, because I've only really started to dig into astrology in the last year and a half or so myself. Like, I've always known I'm a Capricorn. I've always kind of leaned into that because I am like the quintessential, like I am the person they describe when they're like, this is a Capricorn. So I've personally always leaned into it because it resonated with me, and Jen is actually, I think one of the reasons Jen likes you and your stream and your content so much is because she is obsessed with MBTI. Like she is super into that. She's not really into astrology because she doesn't her signs don't really resonate with her. So it makes total sense. But she got me into MBTI. And so I did it. I don't know what it means because she literally has to explain. She remembers who every band member, every type is, because that's how her brain works like that. And I'm like, I can't even remember mine, but she remembers every single band members. I am ISFJ. I had to write it down.
Oh, okay.
I literally had to write it down.
ISFJ, that's really interesting.
And then, but Trish is also an INFP, which like tracks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why we get on so well.
And also in our band, Johnny is an INFP. So I think it's so interesting. But like to me, if somebody goes, yeah, I'm a Leo, I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like, but the personality type,
here's a really interesting thing that I think would be fun to talk about is being a streamer and being introverted. So if you're ISFJ, then naturally you're introverted. I'm INFP, so naturally I am introverted. And I've had people say to me, and I wonder if people say the same to you, huh? But you're so extroverted.
Yeah.
So how does that work when you're on stream? It's like, okay, maybe it's different for you because you've got Trish there, but right now there is literally nobody in this room. If I become my normal introverted self, it's going to be a very boring stream. It's going to be like, okay, I'm just going to sit for 5 minutes and just sit with thoughts. Like, it's not going to be an interesting stream. So you have to fill out the space.
Yeah.
And naturally you come across more extroverted. But I think it helps knowing that you're like, okay, here's a concentrated 3-hour period where I'm going to go. And then afterwards you just crash.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody crashes. I'm sure the extroverts crash too. But like, I'm just saying the introverts can probably come across as extroverted. Especially because we're doing the thing we're most passionate about as well. So we have a lot of energy for that.
Yeah. And here's the thing that's really interesting is I love Iocane just totally just threw Trasha under the bus. She's an STFU, not a INFP. I love that. I love that for you.
Well, I need to turn my mic up, by the way.
You probably could turn it up a little bit more. I actually backed myself off so that way I was like matching you.
I can go louder.
Tell
me if I need to go down now.
No, you're great.
Okay.
Yeah, I just ended up backing off a little bit. I think that you think you're excited and talking loudly, and then you're just like, no, I'm actually really calm, but I'm very excited.
Well, this is, again, related to this. There's another streamer called Willow Keys, who I think is one of the most extroverted streamers. And like sometimes I'll go and I'll finish a song that for me is my most like extroverted go song, and he'll write, "Oh, it's so chilled in here today," and I'm like, "That's me like going for it."
But Willow Keys though, much gooder. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate you. Willow Keys though, he's a dueling piano, yeah.
Right, I think so. Yeah.
That's a different personality type. That should be considered one of the personality types. You know a dueling piano when you see them or hear them. It's like a whole other level of extroverted. And here's the thing is like for me as an introvert, I went to school and intended to go into the career path of radio. And so and so I have the training of audio engineering and announcing. I also considered going into like TV anchoring. But my goal was more radio, like rock radio, and to, you know, be a DJ on like a local station or wherever it took me kind of thing. But before I could get a job in the radio industry, I was hired by a wedding band. And I worked every single weekend for 10 years. And you can't really have another career when you're working every weekend. Like,
that's an intense job.
Yeah, it was a really intense job. And it forced me to be extroverted in not always opportune times. And I think that when you choose to be a performer, you do learn some really unhealthy, like disassociative habits. And I don't know if you experience this. But like sometimes the show must go on and you're like, this is terrible for me. I'm not okay. but today I need money, or today I
Yeah.
committed to doing this. So whatever the thing is, or you're going to inconvenience somebody else if you cancel this. Like, they're all valid reasons, but
Hmm.
being a performer, and this kind of circles back into a question I have for you, is it's a choice. Like, and I would love to know. So like, you talked about Alanis and like how personality theory, like you guys, like you felt like you were reading your own diary listening to her music. When did you start like externalizing your own lyrics and really
Oh,
digging
I
into
can
that?
pinpoint it exactly, to be honest, because it was all related to not being able to come out.
Ah,
I, it was a secret that just weighed heavily on me for like 2 or 3 years. Like I knew in my brain, like deep down, that I was gay when I was about 14, but
mm-hmm.
I didn't say it out loud to anybody till I was 17. And
And
so for those years in between, it was just like, where else are all of these thoughts and emotions going to go? I would just journal all the time. Like behind me on this shelf, I still have all my journals from when I was like 16, 17, and I
oh,
journal all the time. It's like I just have to get it out of my body. Um, and I just started writing these songs. It was just like this very natural instinct to just, there was nobody else to talk to, so I'm just going to write a song about it.
oh, that's so. When did you start Well, I guess this is a two-part question. Did you start producing your own music first, or did you start playing out as a musician, or
It was
how did
literally
that come about?
just in my bedroom for years. Just nothing. I'm so introverted. There was no thoughts of like try to play to people. It was a very personal thing just for me, play in my bedroom kind of thing. Every now and again, if you'd get together with friends, might play the guitar and play like accompany someone else on a cover song.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of me singing in front of people was just no, not going to happen. Um, and then I got into a few situations, I think, where I was accompanying other people as I got older, but like my own songwriting would still be very not show anybody
Mm-hmm.
until I actually came out. And then I was like, oh, I've got some songs about it, and I felt a bit more comfortable to share them afterwards.
Well, that makes sense, because if the songs are all internalized, about the fact that you can't come out, then yeah, you can't really show
Hmm.
anybody it, or else they're gonna be like, you get it to something to say to me? You're gonna
Yeah,
like
yeah.
follow. I mean, that totally makes sense. And for millennials, it still was. I feel like I've talked to so many people around the world as people who are in their early to mid 30s now as millennials. It was so uncool to be anything but straight. It was, and I think my last guest and the guest before that, like all of the LGBTQIA plus people I have had here on Fridays relate to that if they're around our age, is it was still so not okay. And it
Hmm.
it didn't matter if your parents were going to be nice about it or not. It was just
Hmm.
culturally in the school
Yeah,
system, public school, private school, whatever it was still so not okay.
absolutely.
And like we
Absolutely.
had
I
like
would.
the two gay kids who came out, and they were brave as hell for doing it,
Uh-huh.
because they got bullied the house down.
Yeah, same for me. Like I watched other people come out first and was like, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not in their shoes."
Yeah.
And like, just feeling like, how much longer am I going to be able to hide this for? I just can't wait till I get to university. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I had an interesting experience because I didn't like try to hide it. I was one of those kids who knew I was um not straight but also not gay, but like was also something like between bi, because there were masculine women and feminine men all in between, but there was no language for that. The
Hmm.
term non-binary, I didn't hear that term until, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Hmm.
In college, I heard the word gender fluid, or the term gender fluid
Hmm.
and pansexual, and I was like, oh, well, some of this makes a lot of sense now. Because they're like, well, you can't be bi, just choose. And I'm like, I don't,
Hmm.
that's not how that works. Like, what? And you get ostracized for it. And like you said, you watch the kids around you and you're like, well, I'm just not. It was kind of like don't ask, don't tell. Like, I
Hmm.
had a girlfriend on and off for 3 years of my high school career, and
Hmm.
everybody knew, but like also that I think I confused them because I legitimately had boyfriends too.
Hmm.
So
Right.
I don't think they knew how to make
You were
fun
an
of me.
enigma. They
Yeah,
couldn't. pinpoint you, yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out how to make sense of like how, so they went for my looks instead. They went for me being a poser because I decided to, like, when you're in 6th grade or 7th grade and you are still being dressed by your parents, and then they all of a sudden let you start dressing like
Mm-hmm.
yourself, they were like, you poser, because I wanted to go to Hot Topic. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like fuck
Yeah.
off. So they attacked that instead of my sexuality. I don't know what's more stupid, to be honest. But I believe it or not, I was the same way. I didn't start uh performing or talking about my music until I went to college. So you
Oh, really?
actually,
So it started quite late as well.
mm-hmm. I have always been in lessons and stuff. Like I started lessons in music theory at like 10, but I was very much the same way. I did not share my songwriting with anybody. It was like, no, this is my personal
Mm,
space. But I
yeah. So
also,
what start?
yeah. But I also was totally fine performing other people's music. I always wanted to do talent shows and, do stuff
Mm,
like that. So there was always, I don't know. I don't know why I have extroverted moments and introverted moments. Like I don't
mm-hmm.
always fall under introverted. And I don't really know why.
Could very, I mean, the term ambivert exists. I'm sure that could apply to some people. I know it seems a little bit like it's just on the fence sometimes, but I do think it does apply to some people. Like when you take those tests and it gives you like a percentage,
Mm-hmm.
my introversion will be like close to the 20 or 30% balance. So like, sorry, introvert like 70, 80,
Yeah.
and extrovert lower. Whereas you might do it and it might say like 45,
Right.
55. If it's around that kind of mark, I'm sure you're going to have more moments where it goes like this, depending on what situation you're in. Um, I don't know. I wonder whether for me it was like, I don't know what your family situation is like, but because I had two older brothers who were both straight and both played the guitar, like the idea of me stepping into a public place with a guitar, I felt this pressure to be like them.
Ah.
And I just knew that I wasn't going to be like that. And I was like, I'd rather just not fail. I'd rather just stay home and do it for myself rather than not live up to what everyone thinks how good they are. I may as well just do this. I can't play those Oasis songs. I'm going to play Alanis Morissette in my room.
Yeah, so I'm an only child. So I
Ah,
didn't I
okay.
didn't have that particular pressure, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that my parents are incredibly supportive. Anything that I decided I wanted to go after, they were like the momager or the dadager behind it. Like they
Ah,
were,
that's nice.
yeah, if one couldn't be there, the other was. Like there was no lack of support from my parents. But this is another question I had for you is like, did you do
Mm-hmm.
lessons when you were young? And no, not at all.
No lessons at all. No.
I'm actually really surprised by that. Based on how you play in general and how you perform.
Yeah, none of my brothers did either, and so this is where I count myself lucky that they had learned, and so I heard a lot of music. I heard the guitar being played, and I heard singing. The one who probably had it the hardest was my oldest brother,
Mm.
because he was the one who just took it upon himself to go and learn guitar. I think he had friends at school that played guitar. He was that age of like, and when he was a teenager, Nirvana was the thing.
Yes.
So he would come home and he would have the long hair. He would look like, oh my goodness, why am I blanking on his name? The drummer from Foo Fighters. Why am I blanking on his name? Oh my goodness, Dave Grohl.
Mm.
He would have the long Dave Grohl hair from the Nirvana days, and he would come home with these electric guitars that he'd borrowed from his friend. And at school he was like a cool rock alternative kid. So I was very lucky. I heard that, but yeah, none of us took lessons. Um, but my brother would be like, okay, here is E minor and here is
Hmm.
C. And then same with the keyboard as well. Like when, at school when they give you like very basic keyboard lessons, it's one term, like for like a month or something, you get these like,
Yeah.
here's a simplified version of Fur Release. That's how it worked at our school. And you played da 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 da. My music teacher told my brother that I learned it faster than everyone else in my class.
Hmm.
And she said to my brother, I think you should try to push this with him. I was like, I don't know. I'm just doing. I was a good kid. I was just like, do what the teacher tells you to do. I wasn't thinking I'm really musical. I was just like, do what you're told. And then my brother told my mum and dad, that that's what our music teacher had said at school. And I was really lucky. I think, like, here's the two sides to the story. I did come from an underprivileged family. We didn't have much money. So they couldn't afford to give me lessons.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did see something that we were passionate about, they would try whatever they could.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my brother told them that that's what our music teacher had said, I came home from school one day and they had bought me this little keyboard. It was like £40. But it was enough that I could then just practice at home.
Yeah.
And I would then practice every day. And then I didn't know why I was doing it. I just loved it.
Because that's actually, that was one of my questions, is when did you pick up piano? Because I love the way that you play, regardless of what type of piano you're playing, because I also love particularly when you put strings in your loops or when you're playing strings in your songs. I can tell that your brain doesn't work the same way as like mine in terms of piano. So that was one of my questions, is like, did you take piano lessons? But it's more like you taught yourself, and that's kind of why your piano playing is particularly unique, I think.
Oh, thank you. I mean, my brother, the one that's closest to me in age, he had picked up piano just from watching his friends at college, I think. So he showed me, like, here's a C chord, like C, E, G. Here's a G chord, G, D. So he taught me, like, the really basic chords that you can play with just the white notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just took that and ran with it. And one of my other huge influences is Tori Amos, who's just one of the most incredible piano players ever. And also I listen to a lot of Evanescence.
Yes.
But actually, the story that's probably most relevant to this, that tells you a bit about my personality, is that the song 1,000 Miles came out on the radio, and I heard it, and I loved it. And I said to my brother, I'm going to learn how to play that. I don't know where this confidence came from. I was just like, I'm going to learn how to play that.
And it's such a stupid key, too.
Oh, I know. And he said to me, there's no way you're going to learn that. It's too hard. You haven't even started playing keyboard yet. It's too hard. And something in me just went, I will prove you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't read music to save my life, but I found this website. I kid you not, I found this website where somebody had described how to play it. They had written out that you play a low B, then a high B, then a low B, then a high B. And then in your left hand, when you play this note, you play an E in your left hand. And I read it. And I kid you not, it took me 3 months of me every day just going, da, 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 da. And I got faster every day, every day, every day. Until 3 months later, I could go da-diddle-diddle-dum, and I was like such a nerdy kid. I was like, watch what I can.
No, listen, that was my go-to in the piano room. You walk into the band room, I'm gonna sit down. Every time I'm gonna do it. Like it's addicting. It's addicting to know how to play that song because you want to show it off because it's stupid and it's hard.
Yeah. And I think weirdly, like that's a really hard song to play, and then every song after that was like easier.
You know,
and it made it seem easier.
You set the standards really high, and so everything else is easy. I understand. And welcome in. Is it Liari? I'm not sure how to say your name.
Yes, Liari. Hi, okay. Liari. Good to see you.
So I did the same thing with guitar. The first thing I ever learned how to play on guitar was Crazy Train. And it's not particularly hard, but it's certainly not the easiest thing I could have chosen. And so that's kind of where my standard was. If I can play Crazy Train.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And yours was War Pigs? I didn't know that, babe. That's funny. As she sits right here next to me, putting it in the chat. I don't think I knew that.
Each other still.
It's true. It's true. We've known each other for years. It doesn't matter. Still learn new things. And so I also know.
Sorry to interrupt.
One
thing that might be relevant to it is that I did have a recorder. Do you guys have recorders?
Yes, we do.
And I remember I got a toy one.
They're all toys.
I don't play the notes. Yeah, you could still play the notes.
Yeah.
And as a 12-year-old, I would just pick it up and just think of a song and try to play it. And I'm pretty sure I got the notes right. So there was something in my brain that knew how to copy what I heard.
Mm-hmm. I think that I did the same thing, but we had I forget what type of organ it is, but we had an organ in our house, like with the two levels. And I would pick out melodies from, I was obsessed with Cats, the Broadway musical Cats, as a child, which also explains a lot about me, I think, as a person. But I would pick out the Jellicle Ball theme, and that's
Yeah.
like what 7-year-old is doing, and you were the same, very the same way. Holy cow, Flinksy, thank you so much for your sub. I appreciate you.
Ah, Flinksy, yay.
Aw, thank you, thank you. So yeah, when we recognize at a young age that or your parents, my parents recognized like, oh, this kid has an ear. Like, let's take advantage of that. Not everybody has that ear, you know? And so something else I wanted to ask you was, obviously, I know you teach as well. And so how and when did that come about for you in terms of like music?
So, as I said, I was too introverted to follow up on music, and so my at university I did English literature, and I just had no idea what job I wanted to do, but I just thought in the back of my head, I'll probably end up being an English teacher. I'll probably hate it, but at least I'll kind of know what I'm doing. That was my life plan. I went to university. I would occasionally attempt open mic nights, but I just got so embarrassed. I never performed how I could perform at home, and I would always just go home feeling like rubbish about myself because my voice was like shaking. I just blanked out. I just couldn't do what I could normally do. So I was just like, I'll just stick with the English thing. And I got a job at the school that I used to go to as a student. I got a job as a teaching assistant and a cover supervisor. It's like where you don't have a teaching degree, but you can go in and you can be the main teacher at the front of the class, but you're not strictly allowed to teach the subject because you're not qualified in it. You just say, here's what the other teacher has set you to do, and you have to do it, and I'm just going to sit here behind the desk and wait. Which was a really awful job. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
But because I had an English degree, the school would very, very often say to me, oh, please do your teacher training. There's a way of doing your teacher training. You can do it here, and then you can be an English teacher, because male English teachers, I don't know what it's like where you are, but male English teachers in England are just nowhere to be found. The whole English department was women. And so they were desperate for male English teachers. And I kept just going, oh, maybe next year. But at the school, I became really good friends with the music teacher. She is from Belfast originally, and she's a singer-songwriter. She plays the flute and the boron and the guitar, and she wrote her own songs. And she got into that habit of always having her accompanist be whoever her current boyfriend was, which often didn't end well, because then they would break up and she'd be like, need a new guitar player.
Yeah.
So I became this very stable person because there was no romantic interest. And again, she was really good for me. She gave me this kick up the butt. I was a teaching assistant, and as often as I could, I would be like, can I go help in music? Because that's where I wanted to be. I was like, I don't really want to help in English. So if ever I got like a free period, I was like, oh, I'll just go over to the music department and help out. And I would start playing guitar and like helping the kids. And then she was just like, it was quite a small school. She was the only music teacher. So she was really grateful to have someone else kind of just helping out. So I would start playing guitar in assemblies to like accompany the kids that were singing. And then she said, oh, will you please accompany me at my gigs? I need a guitar player. And she's like a prolific, extroverted person. She goes out and gets gigs. And so suddenly my calendar was booked up. I was like, oh, I better get a better guitar. Then I better go out and, she wants me to do harmonies. Okay, I better learn. And she was brilliant for that. She just got me into the real world. But it was without having to be the main focus. I could stand aside. So that was brilliant. And then we both decided to leave the school at the same time because we wanted to pursue music. And she started teaching individual lessons. But she would often have to go back to Belfast, and she was doing lots of traveling, and she would ask me to cover for her one-on-one music lessons. And so that's where I got my first experience of it, and I thought, oh, I could maybe do this. And at the same time, I started teaching English one-on-one tuition as well from students from the school I had just left. Luckily, the parents stayed in touch with me.
Yeah.
I would get one student, and then word of mouth, I would get 2 more students, and then I get 2 more students. And I've just been so lucky that the parents always spread the word for me.
That's a really sweet story. It warms my heart, honestly. Like that's really, really sweet. And the fact that, it fostered you getting out and being able to do gigs and kind of jump starting it in a way that you're like, well, I guess I better fucking get on this now. and
Absolutely.
then you like all
That's
of
why I love
the
the extroverts
tutoring.
of the world. I
Yeah.
do love the extroverts of the world because they do give you the kick up the butt that you need sometimes.
Yeah, I think that I so with my band, I never intended to do gigs. I never even intended to have a band. It was going to be a studio project.
I remember hearing this actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a studio project. Elsie Binks was going to be the project name. Like not a band, just a girl
Mhm.
with some studio musicians making some music. And then a band happened. And I don't book the gigs. Our co-founder and manager and co-founder. We also call him the driver of the Winnebago because he's usually the driver of whatever vehicle it is we own or rent at the moment. Um, he does all of that. He is the extrovert of, well, we have a
Wow.
couple extroverts. There's only two extroverts, the drummer and the manager. Everybody else is on some other part of the spectrum.
Totally makes sense.
But I digress. I don't book my own gigs. Elsie
Hmm.
Binks wouldn't gig if it weren't for Kevin. Um, and I used to do karaoke. I used to host karaoke through a small business, but I was just like, where do you need me? When do you need me? I'll block it out, kind of
Hmm.
thing. Like I like in that way. Believe it or not, you wouldn't think that I like to just be told where to go and where to do it and when, but I do. I don't. I don't want to book gigs.
Hmm.
Everybody in the band knows that if Kevin weren't doing it, none of us would be doing it. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if Kevin decides that he's not doing it, we're not doing it. But then Kevin also,
Yeah.
bless his heart, and if he's listening, I hope he's listening actually. He does pop in sometimes. He'll be like, I'm not doing this anymore because nobody helps me. And then he'll be like the next day, like, so there's this gig. You guys want to.
He just can't help because that's what he does. That's what he's
Yes.
brilliant at. So round of applause for Kevin
Yes.
because we need the extrovert.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
Please have Kevin book my gigs too. Kevin would too. He'd be like, I have 3 friends in the Kansas City area. He's just like that because
yeah.
he toured for a living for probably 35 or 40 years. He was like front of house guy for like some big names, and he has random connections that have is the reason why we still are a band. Honestly,
But
you
to
never
bring
know.
it background to you, to be fair, your songs are probably really interesting songs because you sit there in your introverted way expressing yourself. Like, if it was just all the extroverts in the band, it might sound really cool, but it might lack a bit of substance potentially.
Yeah.
So there's something that you bring to the band with that expression that makes it art, in my
Well, thank you. Get out of here. Leave. Ending the
opinion.
call. No. But this kind of brings us to present day. Like, so you were gigging obviously with your friend, and
Mhm.
did you ever do any gigs on your own?
So I started to, yes. So basically, what happened is that she and I would do these gigs. We would also run open mic nights, and that worked really well because she was the extroverted one. She would introduce people, and I would accompany those that couldn't play instruments themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to how I am on stream, I would just keep all the songs in my head. So people would come up to me and be like, "Do you know the new Leona Lewis song?" And I'd be like, "Yes, of course I do," which was not very rare. So I was able to like play these random album track ballads on guitar. Anyway, we then went to America for 3 months
Mm.
with her then new boyfriend and her new boyfriend's piano player, and we formed this kind of band on the road. And we started in Seattle, and we kind of did like a smile shape all the way around to Boston for
Wow.
3 months. We spent a lot of time in Austin. We spent 3 weeks in Austin. There's a whole side story to that. There's too long to get into today. Um, but the short version of the story is that she and her boyfriend moved to Austin. They loved it so much, they now live in Austin.
Wow.
Uh, and they said to me and the other guy, the piano player, "You should come with us. Let's just keep playing as a band. This is brilliant." And I think there's a combination of reasons, but just my more sensitive, cautious nature was just like, I can't move countries. This is ridiculous. Also, my nephew had just been born, and I just couldn't face the idea of being in a
Yeah.
different country from him. So I decided not to go along. So then I was in England, and I didn't have her kicking me up the butt, getting me these gigs as accompanist. So I wasn't as prolific as her, but every now and again I'd push myself to go and do a solo gig in a pub, and it would just be covers. It would never be originals, just cover songs in an English pub.
Hmm.
with the kind of expectation to play the Oasis, Ed Sheeran kind of stuff, which I don't mind. It's not that I hate it,
Yeah.
but it was, it still got me practicing. I still enjoyed it. Occasionally, I would try to throw in like an Alanis song, but I knew that wasn't the gig. But I didn't push. It was never prolific. It was not like an every weekend thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like once a month or once every 2 months. So I'd throw myself out there. But like if I had a gig coming up later that week, from the Wednesday, my legs would be shaking. I'd be nervous, and the day of the gig itself, I would just be ill. And as soon as it finished, I had this wave of relief. But then I was just dead. The next day, I was out of action, and I was just like, I can't do this. This can't be my life.
So what made you jump to Twitch? How'd you find Twitch?
Oh.
And what made you do it? Like, now knowing a little bit more about you, I actually can't believe that you started streaming at all, to be perfectly honest with you.
I say this to my viewers. I say it is a wonder that I'm even here.
Yeah.
So I've had a YouTube page for years. That was like what I could cope with that. I could make the videos in my own time, upload them when I wanted to. That was my way of expressing myself. And in the pandemic, I was really lazy at the beginning and just a bit like blanked out. I don't know what I was doing for the first few months. Probably just in shock, but also the introvert in me was just delighted to sit and watch TV all day. But at a certain point, I was like, I need to be making more of this time. So I was like, let's try YouTube live streams. And I did a random YouTube live stream. And a guy called Hunter watched me, who I used to go to school with Hunter's sister. And then when I was working at the school, Hunter was actually a student of mine. And so Hunter started watching with his mum, who people in my stream might know. They are Creative Jackalope and Mama Jackalope, who are now two of my mums.
Okay.
So they started watching my YouTube streams because they were subscribed to me on YouTube. They saw me go live randomly one day, and they started watching me on YouTube. And during one of them, Hunter said to me, oh, there's a thing called Twitch where you can do the same thing. I do art streams on there. And I think it kind of went over my head. I was just like, oh, that sounds cool. Signed up, then never looked at Twitch again. And then a couple of months later, this would have been in like approaching October 2020, I had been writing songs with a friend of mine called Lolly, and her, at the time, producer boyfriend. And the producer boyfriend decided in the pandemic that he wanted to start sharing the production sessions on this thing called Twitch. And I was like, oh, I think somebody told me about that recently. And so we started doing these production sessions. And during one of them, Lolly said to me, same thing that Hunter had said, oh, people come on and they do cover songs, and like, your brain's a bit like a jukebox. I think you'd be really good at that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I'm the kind of person that needs to be told, you'd be good at that. And then I do it. I don't have this initiative to just go and do it myself. So because then two people had told me, I was like, okay, I better go check this out. So I tried it one day. I did a couple of test streams that like nobody watched apart from my boyfriend Andrew. And then I think it was my third stream, that the first one that I was like, okay, this is my proper first stream. And there was 0 viewers for like 20 minutes. I was just sat playing away. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, to be honest. And then I got a raid from Theo. Do you know Theodore Elfing?
Oh,
You've
yes.
seen that name?
Oh, yes.
Got a raid from Theo.
Nice.
Of like 60 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I didn't even know that it was called a raid. Like,
Yeah.
This is the thing. I didn't do the research. This is the INFP in me. I didn't do the research. And I think that's why I'm here. Because if I had done the research, I would have been like, I can't do that.
I also didn't do the research.
Right. I just dove in and it just snowballed. Thank God it snowballed. And people again then told me, you're good at this. You should keep doing this. And that's why I'm here. So it's because of the viewers.
Aw, that's really sweet. And honestly, something else we have in common is that, and this actually doesn't really have to do with Twitch, but if I haven't heard of something, or you should try this, or you should watch this, when like 3 unrelated times it's come up from like 3 other like random people, it's like, okay, fine.
Yep.
Fine.
Yeah. I just have to check it out.
Yeah,
So
now
what
I
made
have
you
to.
start then? What made you start on Twitch?
So Phil is the bassist in Elsie Banks and also an engineer at the studio. So he's kind of acts as an assistant engineer as well, and producer and also songwriter. We are all kind of all the things, but he specifically is very good at tech, and he is our kind of all of our personal IT guy. And he had learned at some point, we used to do a live podcast on Facebook with local musicians, me and one other host that rotated. And we used OBS to broadcast it live so we could switch cameras. So he knew how to use OBS Studio. On March 13th, 2020, we are on our way to Indiana for a gig. We get the call that it's canceled because coronavirus is here now. But we don't know what that means. On March 13th of 2020, we have no idea what that means. So we just, okay, fine, turn around. And me and Phil had already been talking about setting up a Twitch. I had heard of Twitch because I followed a couple, there's two people I grew up with that actually are gamers. They're not full-time Twitch content creators, but they do stream games. And so I had an account for a while, and I knew what it was. I knew that people were doing music on it, but I wasn't really following anybody but a couple gamers. And so we went back to the studio. We were gig ready, and everybody, we had the day planned. We were traveling for the day. So what are we going to fucking do? Let's create a Twitch account. Let's go live. Let's fucking go. And that's what we did. Awesome. No research. If we had gotten rated, I would have been like, what's happening? Thank goodness.
What was that first stream like? Did you get any viewers?
Oh yeah, we did, because here's why. We're very, 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 very lucky. Our average for the first 3 or 4 that we did before stay-at-home lockdown happened was like 50 people.
Oh, wow.
Because all the gigs were canceled. So
amazing.
When we announced on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter that, hey guys, we're still playing and you can get live music too, just go to this page and make an account if you want to chat. We had 40 to 50 people every single stream we did up until we did the lockdown.
That were going to come and watch the real gig.
Yeah.
And they migrated over to Twitch. That's amazing.
Yeah, we were very, very lucky. And what we did was we just kept sharing our PayPal link as like a donation option. We're like, hey, if you, or we had all of our merch. We're like, hey, this t-shirt's on sale today for $10, and like wear it or something. And so we actually still sold merch. We still made a couple bucks, and then lockdown happened. That's like a whole nother story. But in the beginning, I didn't know what an emote was. I knew exactly nothing. It's amazing they even ran. Here's the thing. They're all on our YouTube. They're all there. I edited them down a little bit, so it was not the entire however long the stream was, but I think they're all there. Maybe not the very first one, but at least the second couple. The VODs are on our YouTube, and I actually should watch them because I haven't.
I'm really intrigued to see them now. I'm really intrigued because I put my first ever raid on YouTube. And I'm using not this camera, I'm using my MacBook camera.
Yeah.
I didn't have a light. I'm trying to use natural light, but it's getting darker. So it's like pixelated, grey. I've got like an untidy room behind me in the background. And I get raided by one of the biggest streamers at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks to the person who brought everybody in. I didn't call it a raid. I was like, what are all these little emoji things you guys are using? They're cool. I was such a nerd. I didn't know what was going on.
No, same. I was probably also calling them emojis. We didn't have any because we created an account and did our first stream on the same day. Song list. Didn't have a song list for a while. Who had a song list? Nobody even, unless you're like doing the research and lurking on Twitch prior to becoming a streamer, you don't even know what streamer song list is. You just, here, I'm playing these songs. That's what I did. I was like, I have 15 songs prepared today. And that's what I'm playing. Like, that's it. But yeah, that's literally what happened, and the rest is kind of history.
And any of those viewers that came in for those first few streams, did they stick around? Do any of them still watch now?
Couple of them, yes. The majority of them, no. And a lot of them are extroverts. If you
Yeah.
were going to shows regularly, you're an extrovert. I
I
don't.
was gonna say, like, I wonder how many Twitch viewers are introverted.
Yeah. I think many, if not all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all of them that were released, and don't get me wrong, a lot of them are still active in my Patreon. They are
Mm-hmm.
like all they're very active on other places, but when it comes to Twitch, a lot of them I haven't seen in a very long time, and I
Yeah.
just think it's because they are going back out. They
Yeah.
have gone back to normal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
if that's safe for you, then you do you, boo. But it's not safe for me, so I'm here, you know.
No, it's
Um,
totally fair enough. Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh,
going.
and as Wicked Star says, they're going to shows regularly does not always equal extrovert. That's very true, actually. I know Wicked
Yeah,
Style is a, well, it used to be a big gig goer, but is typically introverted.
yeah, and
So yeah.
I think that that's like, and for me, I I would go to like one show a year. It's too much for me. Like, and that's the thing
Hmm.
is like I can sit here and do an interview. I can sit here and play music and talk for 5 hours, and
Hmm.
but then like don't ask me to go to a show with you. I'm not going. And
Yeah.
that's before the pandemic. Pandemic aside, I'm
Yeah.
not going to a show with you unless I need to see that artist, you know.
Hmm.
I just
Yeah.
I can't do it. But that's I don't know. I think that for me Twitch has almost made that worse. Like, why would I go somewhere when I could just come be here?
Hmm.
But
I
that
just love
brings
Twitch so much.
I was gonna
I
say,
didn't realize how amazing it would be. That's the thing. Like, I sometimes feel like I'm more myself in my streams than I am with even some of my closest friends. Like, it
Mhm.
brings out who I really am. Like, I get to share every single ounce of who I am, from the serious songwriting moments. I get to share all those songs that I wrote when I was a teenager when people are requesting them. Then I've got like to the other end of the thing completely where I'm playing Fergalicious and My Humps and like everything in between, and like all of the people watching are just like, yes, please, sure, do whatever you want. And I'm like, you want this? I'm so used to having to walk into a pub,
Yeah.
not bring the piano, just have my guitar and play Oasis and Ed Sheeran like a robot. I'm exaggerating it a bit, but that's kind of what it feels like, you know?
Mhm.
And so to come into this environment where people are encouraging you to share your original songs, encouraging you to share your Lady Gaga covers, it's like, are you sure? Are you sure
Yeah.
you want this?
No,
And they do.
I
It's amazing.
100%. Yeah, you're talking to somebody who was a wedding singer for 10 years.
Right.
Talk about repetition.
Hmm. Yeah.
I I mean, we were a pretty fucking cool band. Like, we did a lot of fucking really cool, like, I know TikTok and Raise Your Glass and things like that, like
Hmm.
the back of my hand, because we actually did
Hmm.
do, obviously those aren't timely now, but, you know, they're, those are, I just
No, sure.
realized those are really bad examples for, like, current music. But, like,
But at least you would have enjoyed that at the time. Like you enjoyed those songs.
I
Yeah.
did enjoy that part of it. And so, like, it's very rare. Twitch is not, like, I hate, at the beginning, I used to be like, well, I'm not like a quiet, I'm not like a mousy little guitar player.
Mhm.
I'm not what I'm seeing here. And you were one of the first people, gender aside, because there's a whole lot of female musicians on Twitch. I feel like there's more female musicians. I could be wrong. I've never
Mhm.
looked at the stats on that, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I just
That's an
feel like
interesting
that,
question.
I don't know. I feel like it might be true, but I feel like you were one of the first people I saw, like, literally covering club music as club music. Like, I don't see that. And then people are surprised that I'm like, I want to fucking go to the club. Let's fucking go. Let's
Yeah.
go do TikTok. That's what I want to do right now, you know? Or
That's what I love about your streams. And oh my God, that loop that you did of Justin Timberlake's Sexy Back was so good. It was so good. Like, I was blown away. Like, I just love how you pick out those details. Like, you ready? Those little details.
you
I
ready?
live for it. I live for it. It's
Uh,
so good. And like, a lot of like, I don't know, again, I don't know what it's like where you live, but a lot of the open mic nights and gigs that you would go to where I live, I mean, it's guy with a guitar.
Yeah.
And if they're looping, they're just going to loop an extra bit of guitar.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be covering Lady Gaga or Beyonce or Justin Timberlake in a really interesting way, using beats and then like synths and backing vocals,
Mm-hmm.
arranging the backing vocals. Like I love that kind of stuff, and it's still quite rare to see it done to the way that you would do it. I don't see it that often, and it really appeals to me.
Yeah, I think that if I, in a dystopian future, I'm not on Twitch and the band isn't a thing and I have to do gigs again, I would do literally this, but like in a live situation, and people would be like, "What the fuck is she doing over there?"
Right. Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
been listening to this loop for 10 minutes and the song hasn't started. What the fuck is she doing? But yeah, that's honestly though, that's one of my favorite things about you. This is a no you situation. This is where it just turns into nodding for five
This is
minutes.
the nodding section has
This is the
started.
nodding part because seriously, I never saw anybody doing that. And even though I don't know when I started following you, I'd have to go into your chat and do the followage thing. But you're one of the first people I saw do that and just live in the truth that you love this club tune. You don't want to change it into some mousy guitar cover. And like, there's a time and place for that. I love them. I have a certain mood. I need this. I need to raid somebody who is doing very chill covers.
Yeah.
But I loved that you lived in that truth. And I think you were one of the first people that inspired me to kind of be like, fuck it, I'm doing this like the record and I like it that way.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. No, I really enjoy it, and I love doing mashup.
Yeah.
And like the thing about Twitch is it's so interactive. You know, when you're at a concert and people are like, you know, singing along or shouting at you, you can't really make out what they're saying. Whereas on Twitch, you can be like in the middle of a song and read somebody's thought exactly.
Yeah.
And you can be halfway through a song and they can be like, mash up with such and such, and you're like, maybe I could. And it's like this conversation that happens. It's very unique, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then somebody says something in the chat or they rewrite the lyrics or something and you can just literally regurgitate that. Like one of my favorite things to discover was people do the thing with Ocean Eyes, where as long as it's three syllables and it rhymes, that's what we're putting in now. And it's become a thing. And for us, we call it lotion thighs, but many times it's called something else. Sometimes we call it Thanos dies. Like it just.
My favorite one, I did it a few weeks ago, and this follows up on the story with my pink lyrics, where with the effing perfect story. I was doing Ocean Eyes and Wicked Style put Google surprise. And I absolutely lost it. I completely lost it on stream.
What's funny about your laugh is that it sounds totally fucking fake. like your laugh literally sounds like you're faking laughter, but it's just like authentic laughing.
Have you heard of the comedian Jimmy Carr? He's an English comedian.
I know the name, but I don't think I'm familiar.
Not controversial, but he has the same laugh as me.
Really?
And he describes it like everyone else laughs, you know, like a normal person on the exhale, and we laugh on the inhale. It's like, ah!
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. But I love that for you. It's just it's so authentic. It is. And that's the best part is when somebody gets you laughing, it's just the best because nobody else laughs like you do.
I can't control it, and they know how to find the humorous things that will just make me lose it. They know me now, and they just go for it, and I love it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
And I just remember my other favorite thing about you is well, I guess it's not entirely about you, to be fair. However, you have really good taste in people you raid. And I have found some of my favorite streamers because you raided them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like straight up. Like, and I have told people that I think Rob Does Music is one of them, Clay is one of them, Calden's one of them. Oh my gosh, I forgot oh no, I lost his name. Oh no. Oh, he's a looper. That doesn't really narrow it down. I'll remember in like 10 hours and text you like, oh, this is who it was. So many incredible people you introduced like me to just because I was in the raid with you. And I was like, oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But can you believe it's been an hour? It's been just over an
I
hour.
know. I know. I could honestly keep talking forever, but I know we have to finish at some point.
I know. But I kind of wanted to leave with what what has sorry, what is brain? That's the question. What is brain? Regarding Twitch and your mental health. How
Mm.
has it affected you positively over these last couple years?
Oh, positively, there's just a million things. I have just been given so much confidence from people watching, and just the encouragement that people have shown. Like I said earlier, I'm just one of those people that I find it hard to have that confidence in myself and to motivate myself. And so to have people there, literally telling you every stream, "Good job." Like I'm self-employed, so I don't have a boss. I don't have co-workers.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody giving you that pat on the back to say good job.
Yeah.
So before Twitch, I'm trying to do music. I would record songs. I would spend ages doing my own productions, really detailed things in Logic Pro. I'd put them on Spotify, and then you get like two people listening to it.
Yeah.
And just knowing that if I go to release a song, if I release a song next week, I'm going to have a group of people who are excited.
Yeah.
That is so amazing to me.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is nobody has had that answer. But I have, it was really cool to release music for the first time again after gaining a Twitch audience, because you're right. You release a Spotify record, a single, whatever, you get like 10 plays in like a week. It takes for fucking ever. And you're just screaming into the void of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all of the fucking places, and maybe TikTok too if you're nasty. But like but that's it. And then you get like 10 plays, and then all of a sudden you have this whole Twitch community sharing your shit, and it's like, "Oh my god. I'm tagged again. Oh my god, I love this." And that was actually your production on Maybe is one of my favorite things.
Aw,
I
thank you.
love the production on Maybe. Also, we both have songs named Maybe. I don't know how
Yay.
hard that is to accomplish. I feel like there's probably a million songs named Maybe. Um, but I love
A
your
nice
production on
word to
Maybe.
sing, isn't it? The word maybe is just a nice word with
It
the
is.
maybe.
And it's so hopeful too. Like
Mm.
it's absolutely hopeful. Both of our Maybe songs are very hopeful about what could we be? What could this be,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I kept using it in the story when I was promoting today's chat. I just love that production. I love the strings in the background. There's something really magical about that production.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so, y'all, please go listen to all of Gary's music on all the places, whether you have Apple,
Thank you.
Spotify, YouTube, all the places. And also, I didn't mention this, but if you are on desktop right now and you are watching, there is a dynamic follow button. So you can follow Gary on Twitch without ever
Oh,
navigating away. It's right underneath his little square.
thank you.
Yeah, and that way you don't have to leave, you don't have to go anywhere. That link tree will direct you to all the other places I mentioned. And I wanted to ask you if you have any like final thoughts. What's your schedule? When's your next stream? Anything different coming up? That kind of stuff before we disconnect.
So my schedule is my two regular streams are Mondays and Wednesdays. Monday is an afternoon one for me, so 1 p.m. BST, British Summer Time. And then I started a few months ago doing a Wednesday evening stream. I hadn't done evening streams regularly, but they've been really fun. So Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. BST. And then I did used to do a Friday regular stream, but I decided to bring back a bit of spontaneity that I loved at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
because when I first started, I didn't have a schedule, and I was a bit haphazard with it. And although it wasn't good for getting continuity, it was good for my kind of confused brain that was just like, oh, now I'm free. And I enjoyed an aspect of it. And so I brought back a bit of spontaneity by, instead of it being a regular Friday stream, it's a whenever I want stream. So
Yeah.
it's two regulars and then plus one spontaneous. And that I'm finding is really working for me. And my final thought is just that I am having the most fun that I've ever had in the last couple of months. There has been an influx of new people coming in, and some of them are here today, like Woo Walt, like Daniela, LG Music, Typefaster Joel, Birdie, so many new people, Liari, and then joining with the people that have watched me for a long time, like Wicked Style and Rob. Luke's been coming in a lot. Luke's amazing. Luke's so generous.
Aww.
And it just feels like the community aspect is getting stronger all the time. And it's something that just really surprises me and warms my heart all the time, because as somebody who didn't have community, to have one where it centers around me is like, it's like, why? It's so nice. It's so nice.
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative of it. And yeah, I'm just having the best time out in the whole nearly 2 years I've been on. This is my favorite era.
Aw. It is your main character era. I was about to say your villain era, but I disagree. It's not. It's not that. Not that yet. But I do not want to cross the time boundary. We've already done cross that time boundary by like 15 minutes. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. And y'all, this was the first time Gary and I chatted in real time, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So y'all witnessed history again. And I just want to say thank you for being you. Keep doing you, because I adore you, and I'm so glad that Jen, I don't know how Jen found you. I'm going to have to go ask her, because I truly wish I had asked her prior. But I don't know if you were random or what, but I'm really glad Jen found you, brought you into our lives, and yeah. We just adore you. Thank you for being you.
Inviting me on. Thank you for inviting me. It's been so much fun. And yeah, a big love to Jen as well. Thank you for introducing us.
Yeah.
And give a follow to Jen as well. EBX Jen, she's great.
Yeah, EBX Jen is working on getting a more regular schedule back herself, and so yeah, she's the reason Gary is around on this day, and for the last year and a half, and did the Rainbow Railroad Raid Train. Blah, 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 blah,
That
all
was
the
so
things.
much fun.
Yeah, I wanted to do that again this year, but like life was just not having it. But hey, you know what? Pride Month is every month. I don't give a shit. It can be any month. But I'm gonna let you go. I hope you have the best evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if anybody missed any part of the interview,
well, thank you.
yes, thank you for being here. If you came in late, I will be posting this tomorrow on my YouTube as just a little chunk of interview, so that way you can just watch that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and so I try to tweet it, share it, and tag you, so that way you know it's out as well, and you can watch, you can share with everybody. And yeah, I hope you have a really lovely evening, and thank you for being here.
Have a great stream. I'll be in there chatting in a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.